Hi and welcome to my channel. This is my first video. No. No. Oh, it's bad. I have no idea what I'm going to say. Hi, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how I put together the Decades of Style Corsage dress in a linen and cotton blend. I also quickly put together a mid-1930s hat to go with it, and I'm pretty happy with the result, so I hope you enjoy the video that's coming, and make sure you comment down below and let me know what you think. So let's get into it. I marked the bodice with chalk and followed the instructions to assemble the bodice. And I basted the collar together, which I don't always do, but I highly recommend it. After trimming the vesty front insert, I folded the raw edges and whip stitched that neatly. Here's the finished bodice without the sleeves, showing the vesty insert. I then made the sleeves and inserted them after the skirt and zipper were in place, as you will see later. Now I'm laying out the marks on my skirt pleats and then assembling my very first pleat wrong. So very wrong. Okay, so this is stitching line 2, not this one. And this, I don't know what I did. Ugh. Time to unpick the loosely woven linen and cotton blend with teeny tiny stripes. My poor eyes. Okay, so this is what I did wrong. This is stitching line 2. There's my stop part. This isn't basted at the moment, so I'll have to quickly baste that shut. What I did is I just willy-nilly, like accordion folded in some bizarre way, all of my lines. So placement line 1 on both sides became a fold. And therefore stitching line 2 was a fold, and placement line, which is about here. I still have to finish up here, so it might shift a little. And then I had this, which is the stitching line, number 1 from the original insertion. You can see that's where it's sewn. So I had this folded the wrong way. I had this folded the wrong way. And then placement line, which is somewhere in this region, didn't fold at all. I folded it, didn't use it as a placement line. I was going to thread mark all of this. And then I decided to just pull out my chalk. And probably should have thread marked, because I've been watching a lot of Bernadette Banner. And then maybe I should thread mark in a different color for folds, and in a different color for stitches, and in a different color for placement. So I would recommend doing that if you're working with stripes instead of solid color. The solid color ones in the front would be nicer because there's only stripes and pleats in the back. Oh. I decided to make a cover over the end of my zipper since I had to buy a much longer one than what I needed. I didn't do the best job, but it works just fine. Then I put it on my little Judy, which isn't exactly my shape, but I wanted to see how the zipper made the dress fall, and it worked out. I was also a little concerned that the pleats weren't falling properly. Since I made this out of a much lighter weight fabric than suggested, it did turn out, although a stiffer weight fabric would, in the end, make a crisper pleat. I just wanted to talk about the flowers for the corsage dress. Now, I'm going to do this in a vlog style, but I didn't like the flowers that came with it because I felt they were really bulky. I'm really petite, and I'm just going to swing around in my dress here. I am really petite from the shoulder to the bust point. There's very little space here, and this is very high contrast, and this sort of shawl collar, although I love them, this sort of collar I've stayed away from because I also have a D-bust, so it's a lot. I'm also only 5'2", and I have very curly hair, and I wear glasses, so it's a lot going on. And when I made sort of mock-ups of the flowers and stuck it here, they were too three-dimensional to me. So I went to the Artful ribbon book, which I have photocopied pages from a falling apart book just of a few things. I have yet to buy the book and replace it, which is one of the things I need to do. So I apologize to Candace King, who I believe is the author of the book, that I just photocopied a few pages from a falling apart borrowed copy 25 odd years ago. And I did this technique. Now I will show a little quick video when I'm finished this part of how I stitched it together. So I took my dress fabric and I cut straight strips. And then I folded them in half and turned them, did a tiny seam allowance, and you can see the seam allowance. I pulled it through, pressed it at the center back. And then I made the figure 8 rosette because it sits very flat. And of course, as instructions for this, and you can see how flat that is, which for me is a little better, being that you can see how it doesn't really stick out and it doesn't create a lot of visual noise for me. It was too much for my petiteness. I'm going to pin this from the back when I do it, so I will be able to wash them because they'll fade. Because this is a linen cotton blend, there's fading in there. I need to do it. So what I did is I just did the parts. So these leaves are from the corsage dress instructions, and it's fabulous. And they're pretty much exactly what come out of Candace King's instructions for the ribbon work as well. This one I just followed the instructions and basically made a ribbon. The inside, you can see I just folded over some of my contrast fabric and tied it into a knot. It's all stitched at the back. There's no, I stitched the 2 layers, I tacked them together so there isn't any falling. And what I mean by falling is when you're wearing something vertically, and this is something about millinery, I don't know if anybody you probably know I'm a hat maker. So when you're dealing stuff with hats, you have a vertical challenge of making sure that anything you sew stays vertically on the hat if it's meant to stay vertically instead of flopping over. So it has been tacked in place. And then I used some horsehair canvas because I didn't have my buckram here because we're in quasi-lockdown, and I think this one. So how you would build it normally is you would mount it onto some buckram, but I just used some horsehair, and you can see just whipped it on there. And then I just very carefully just stitched on that raw edge with a quick little hem stitch I use a lot. This should be okay, even if it gets washed. I probably should wash them so they fade in the same way as the dress. I probably, all of my stuff gets washed, hand washed and hung to dry, and I won't be able to iron the dress if I leave them on. So I'm going to safety pin them on from the back, and that way I can do 1 or 2 or 3 small safety pins to keep it on the dress as I like. And what I really like, I'm going back over to the dress. I'm going to pull out the sleeve a little. What I really like, or not, what I really like this is it's subtle, and I am also making a matching hat, so it's a lot for little petite me. So I have now just need to finish off these and the ones I left, for example, and the dress is done. And then I'm going to get on with the hat, and then you'll be able to see the whole thing. This is a quick demonstration about how I sewed together the figure 8 flowers on the straight grain ribbon that I made with the green fabric. Now remember, I also made a little tiny folded bit of fabric that I tied into a knot and stitched into the middle. So that was the dress. It's very lovely, and I really like wearing it, and it turned out really well. But now I'm going to show you a really quick video on how I put together the hat, because in the 30s, matching hats. And I'll show you what it all looks like at the end. I hope you like it. This is a 1930s reproduction pattern that I've had for a really long time, that I have in the past transferred onto pattern paper, pattern fabric. I cut it out as well as the brim and the lining. The decoration is made out of the stripe, and you'll see it come together later. crown of this hat is sewn together from 3 pieces, and it's sewn together by hand. There is no real way to do this on the machine. I have tried, but very unsuccessfully. This is absolutely a by hand hat. I added the decorative stitches in an ivory embroidery floss and then assembled the crown to the brim and inserted the lining as you would do normally for a hat of this type. I made the decoration as per the original instructions and found a vintage glass button. All of this was then hand sewn in place. I added a grosgrain ribbon sweat to hide the raw edges inside of the hat, and then it was finished. And the whole thing was finished. This Decades of Style pattern is really great, and I recommend that you try it. I totally had problems because reading directions tend to be not something I do great. I don't read directions all that well. I don't follow directions all that well. I've been sewing for so long, I tend to just get really lazy like I did with the pleats, and then I had to backtrack. But once I just, got my act together and I followed the directions, I really liked it. I have seen other people's versions with their roses as for the pattern, and I really like them, but I really like the ones I made. I really like the way they turned out, and I really like the cute little hat, which is one of my favorite designs. I did this a couple of years ago in a white linen with brown, and I really liked it, and I thought this was a really cute addition to this hat. I think it would look really nice with a straw too, but I wanted to make a matching hat because I'm trying to make my vintage clothes have matching hats that are with the era of the clothes, and I'm notorious for having no hats. I hope you like this video. I know it's my first one, and let me know what you think. I will link to Decades of Style down below. You should totally check them out. I've made lots of their patterns, and I have more to make on my list, and I really hope that you get to see what I do. There's a coat that I am trying to find the right fabric for, and it looks super time consuming but super fabulous, and I'm really looking forward to it. I also have the fabric for the Miss L dress, which is it's a 1930s coat dress, and I'm really looking forward to that now that we're at the end of the summer and I can think about wearing sateen, because it's about 33 degrees today. So this is really warm today because it's a lot, but on the cooler summer days, it's fabulous and I really like wearing it. Thank you for watching. I hope you had fun watching me flail around and not read instructions and then get my act together and read instructions. So please comment below, please subscribe if you want to, and I will see you again next time. Bye.